We are back. So for those that are new to the channel, my name is Cliff. I'm a college coach, cross country and track. But in my free time, I'm just an avid fisherman. And the pandemic basically allowed me to just try something new within fishing, especially because it happened primarily during the winter. So I got into making my own lures and making my own baits. So I decided to start filming some of that stuff, and here we are a few hundred followers later and subscribers later. I'm starting to basically the spring 22 season. Excited to get after it. Today we are going to work on something that is a little controversial depending on where you go. Actually, ironically enough, if you follow Milliken Fishing, Ben just recently did a video about a micro umbrella rig, which you've already seen in the thumbnail and the title. But I wanted to make my own micro umbrella rig. And so with that, we're going to do it. It's pretty simple in regards to what you need. I have some 1.7 inch Epic PreyBaits from Epic Bait Molds, plastics that we're going to use basically as our trailer. So it's kind of be a panfish crappie, but I'm sure you can catch bass on it. But the idea is, it's been cold. I mean, we still have ice this last 3 days. It's roughly in like the 20s here in Nebraska, but today is hitting 70, tomorrow is hitting 70, and Wednesday is hitting 70. So our goal is we're going to try to get this done, and it'll probably be done relatively quickly. It's not a super time-consuming build, but we're going to try to get out there and catch some fish. So here we go. All right, let's start talking just about the components, what we'll need for this. First, and most importantly, for hook placement and just the overall action of the bait. Ball bearing swivels. This is a 0 size, 5 of them. That's pretty much perfect for the size that we're going to be working with and basically fishing with. So we got a few extras in case of. 2 different sizes jig heads. We're going 1/16 ounce and 1/32 ounce. That is plenty. Because of the wire that we're going to use, it's going to weigh itself down pretty good. So you don't need anything really that extra in order to make that happen. To tie it all together, you need heat shrink tubing. This is a package I got, basically a small little toolbox or tackle box I got on Amazon for like 10 bucks that has way too much. But ideally, we're going to use this heat shrink tubing to be the initial connector in order to keep all of our stainless steel wire together. And lastly, we're going to look at that stainless steel wire. So this is another Amazon special safety lock wire. This is that 0.032 or 0.81 millimeters. This stuff is about perfect. Again, it's going to give you just enough of that weight. Strength-wise, when you do what we're going to do with it, in terms of connecting it, it's going to be very strong. It's going to be able to hold its position and keep the baits nice and splayed, but at the same time allow them to swim freely and give a lot of action on that panfish size. So that is basically it. A couple additional tools you might want to have is some pliers, obviously, a few different types. This is some flat, we basically need one of those flats. These are specific for actually making loops, so you can kind of see the different diameters and circumferences of these circles. And I always like to have a pair of small additional pliers with me. And then you'll need a heating tool in order to shrink that wrap. And then lastly, our favorite, everyone's favorite super glue. One quick disclaimer. Why the umbrella rigs are controversial, and you can find obviously across the United States, they're either heavily fished, they're not fished, they're frowned upon, basically because you're fishing with multiple hooks. You can get upwards of some umbrella rigs, full-size ones, 8 to 10 hooks on them. Some states have regulations, so check them out. Brushing all this aside, for right now, we only want to start with just the wire. So we will need 5, about 7. I kind of want them to be about 5 inches long, the actual rig itself. So they'll need to be around 10 inches when we get to this portion, all right? So I always kind of give us a little extra, so we go with 11. And then we're going to need 1 just as our line tie and that one can be 5 or 6 inches long because you only need it just for a little bit. So we're gonna just kind of speed roll through measuring one of these and cutting them all up. Gonna go ahead and chuck this little thing into my vise here, and the first particular wire that we'll go ahead and do is actually just going to be that line tie. So what you see, you know, just kind of what I'd like to do is get it as close to even as you possibly can, and get yourself your drill. Power tools are necessary for this one in terms of how, if you want it done quick. All right, that's chucked in. We're going to simply apply a little pressure and twist it up. So same thing, you're going to kind of want to even these up. Just make sure that they are pretty close to one another. It's about 5 inches or so, roughly. Take your ball swivel, go ahead and place it on. So now that's going to be right at that bottom of the loop. That will be our first of 5. I'm going to speed through the next 4. Fifth one of these is done. Now we start that assembly process. You will want to trim the tag ends, just the excess. So there we go. We got 5 right there ready, and our hook hanger. Next couple steps are going to be very important on securing everything, and that will be your shrink tubing. Heated, and it shrinks, keeping everything pretty much locked together, and then we kind of finish it off with Star Bond thin super glue and some accelerator. 1/8 inch and then 3/16 of an inch. So just basically trying to go smaller to larger just to secure it. We will use multiple layers. I found that works better, and making sure that this does in fact hold up to the fight of a fish. Importantly, now that that's secured, we're going to heat it up with the tubing with a simple yet effective lighter, and do a couple of more layers on top of this one. So first one, here we go. And again, you can hopefully see that little adhesive that's created that goes in between each one of these layers. Kind of looks like it's already gluing. So we're going to let that sit for 5 minutes or so just to cool off and cool down and settle. And we'll finish a little bit more with some super thin super glue. I have gone ahead and put a little baking soda in there too. This stuff is king for bonds with super glue, but the first time I didn't necessarily need it, but this one I'm just going to try it and see if it adds to the strength. Couple small dabs. Grab the accelerator. Little spritz. Then we'll do the same for the bottom section here too. The hook hanger is bonded and set. Now the last section is once we start that actual umbrella. So just for sizing's sake, so you can kind of see where we're at. Get this ruler. And we're roughly at 5 inches on the umbrella side of things. So, but once we start to splay it, it'll probably be just under 4. So you'll have a 4-inch umbrella coming off, but we want to basically just find the area that you're going to want and which ones we want. Hold them down. Make sure your swivels are not stuck together like that. And maneuver them in the ways you want them to be set. I always like to look at it from the top, so hopefully you can kind of see straight down the barrel of this umbrella rig, so you can even things out if you want them to be exactly the same angle, you know, whatever you want. But this way, I kind of like it. You're going to have 2 bottom ones that'll be a little bit wider. Your center bait, which typically is one of the ones that's going to have the hook, and then kind of the top 2 is a little bit more dummy. Most of the weights you want, if you're going to go with certain ones, you'll put the weights down at the bottom or weight here just to keep everything down below the water in the lower portion of the water column. But this should work relatively well. With that being said, we're going to finish it off by super glue and baking soda just down the center. That will cement everything and basically just keep it from moving too much when it's moving around in the water. Since we're going to have 3 dummy baits, I'd like to make basically a screw lock, similar to any other swim bait jig head that you've seen. So pretty much just use this set of pliers, the round set of pliers, to create a base, and then another set to just kind of help guide it through. And we're going to just rotate that a couple of times just to get around there and create a stronger base. As you can kind of see that loop, hopefully, kind of like a split ring. And once we get it to a pretty strong area, just kind of go ahead and lift it slowly up and around. So kind of just looks like a spring, but that is a pretty effective little screw lock. As I zoom in on it, there you go. So that will go ahead and be placed on this top one. Okay, as we look at outfitting that, there's a few different colors for this Epic PreyBait. I'm thinking, I've always had really good luck with blue and white, but we're gonna go and just kind of put a smorgasbord on. So this is a clear with, if you can barely kind of see, we've got nice gray or silver, black, and red flake in there. You can kind of tell the plastisol is getting a little colored because I haven't used this particular one for a while. And before we make our way fishing, I ended up making another one just quick like, but I'm gonna zoom in as close as I can and show I decided to do a little clear coat and aluminum foil tape on this one with some glitter, just to kind of give it a little, I don't know, fish-like look. Most of these will have jig heads or something that kind of resemble a fish, so that's about as close as I was going to get for this one. And then I left this one just kind of completely black, but still did the same thing with the clear coat. And I did red, black, and diamond holographic glitter. So those are done. Now it's just time to see if we can catch a fish on a homemade umbrella rig. Well, we are underneath a little road here, and this is truly the only open water that I've seen in the last 5 days. But we're gonna try out this quick umbrella rig and check out the action, and we'll cast it around until we realize we're not going to catch anything because there's no open water, but we'll keep trying. But it works perfectly. You can see that. Sinks pretty quick. That way we can get it to the bottom. Well, we went to a new lake. Figured I'd try a smaller body of water just because it's going to be a little warmer. And we're just going to test it out. Looks like we got a man-made little bench here. Interesting. Cool. Let's see if we can get anything here. All right, this will be last try for this umbrella rig this first week of March, but we are at a small new little lake that's kind of just finished being built last year that has some pretty cool fish in it, but we'll see. Still first week of March, windy as you can tell, and it's like a cool like 29 degrees right now, so we're gonna see if anything is interested. Well, if you made it all the way through, thank you. I appreciate you watching the video. Snagged both of them, lost both of them, and that's kind of how it goes with fishing. I do think we'll get into an opportunity to catch some fish here soon. The weather is just not, I mean, it's turned slowly. Spring is slowly showing up, but we are still dealing with just unfortunate temperatures, and you know, that's how it goes during the middle of the Midwest spring and winter transition. But thanks again for sticking tuned. I got some other ideas coming up, some other videos on the way. Appreciate you watching. If you found anything of this useful, drop a comment below, and hopefully we'll see you